Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is Danny and Nick here with Limited Time Only. And yeah, for those of you that didn't listen last time, Nick is new to the show. So I know you did a little bit of an intro last time, but you can quickly go over it again. Where are you from? Uh, what's something notable magic-wise
Hey,
about you? Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm Nick. I'm new to limited time only, and I'm from Florida, and I'm basically strict Sultai player. I mean, I'll play other colors, but Sultai lies in my heart for sure.
Very nice. I Those are fun colors. I thought, yeah, they're great.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I'm Danny. I'm gonna try to do the hosting role, so that should be a fun experience for everybody. So I want to start off just by thanking our sponsors. So we do have a new sponsor for the show. It's Oasis Games. They're a store here in Salt Lake City in Utah. They really great store. They've been around for a while. They also host Constructive Criticism, the other podcast that we're associated with. And Alex is the owner. He's a great guy. They have a huge selection, so if you ever need anything, you can go to Oasis Games, order online, they'll ship it to you. They do a great job over there. And I also wanted to shout out the Mana Base, which is our other sponsor. They have like a lot of up and coming Magic personalities that do content for them. And so if you want to check it out, they have a lot of great stuff. And they also have a sponsor, Fusion Gaming, that kind of handles a lot of like sealed product and stuff for them. So that's another place that you can look to get things based out of Canada. And then we do have a Patreon if anyone's interested in supporting us directly, and that's LTOTG. Yeah, and we are very grateful for everybody that already supports, and we just love doing the show every week. And sweet. So this week we're just going to be talking about Dominaria. It's going to be our goodbye episode. Kind of.
Unfortunately,
I know, right? No, sometimes it's a good goodbye. This is definitely going to be you'll be missed goodbye for sure.
this is one of the worst goodbyes we've had in a while.
Yeah, I think so. Hour of Devastation, I loved that format as well. That one
I
was
didn't get
very
to
good.
draft that one as much as I wanted to, but it was a lot of fun when I did draft it.
It's very good. Yeah, I feel like we've had a lot of peaks and valleys in terms of draft formats. Like, Hour was wonderful. Ixalan was terrible
Yeah.
comparatively, and then Dominaria has been wonderful again.
We're at a big peak now. I'm a little skeptical of M19, but we'll see how that shapes out.
Have you drafted very many core sets, or?
I've drafted a couple. I haven't drafted them extensively, but
Yeah,
this
I'm in the same
one,
boat.
there's a lot of those weird sideboard modern rares that they planted into the set. I'm just afraid that I'm gonna end up playing sealed, and I'm gonna open up like 3 of these modern sideboard rares, and then my opponent's gonna have like 6 normal fine rares.
You're gonna like try to turn off their lands and stuff. And you're like, oh, this actually doesn't do
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dominaria doesn't have too much of that. I feel like most of the rares are pretty sweet and
Yeah.
like build aroundy, which is very fun. I think it's partly why it's been so fun. Is like
Yeah,
there's
I
so
love
many
build
interesting
arounds.
cards. Oh yeah, they're the best. But yeah, like overall, what do you think made Dominaria so enjoyable before?
Everything kind of felt viable. Some things were stronger than others, but you can kind of just do whatever strategy you wanted to do. And drafting wasn't easy. When I first got into the format, I was going like 1-2 pretty consistently, and I was like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong here, and it kind of took a little bit to figure out like where to pick things and what was actually like pretty decent as opposed to what was bad. Like Call of the Cavalry was kind of like, yeah, this card's sweet at the beginning of the format, and as it went on, it was like, oh, this card's just kind of whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that definitely is true. So I've been drafting a lot of Cube recently, and it kind of reminds me of that, where like you can do whatever you want, but you just have to make sure you're doing something like very powerful. And
It is kind of
Dominaria felt
cubey.
like that a lot. Yeah, where like you have lots of options, right? Like you can build a Pegasus Courser deck or a Run Amok deck. Like you can go to that, or you can draft like these really strange cards and make them way better than they normally would be.
Oh yeah.
Which is like I think that's fun. My favorite part of Dominaria was I don't know. Did you ever hear people say like, "Oh, I got Dominaria'd," where like you read a card or like didn't understand a card interaction like months into the format?
Uh,
My friends
I,
and I would always say that, but
I haven't heard that before, but I think I've got Dominaria before with
yeah,
haphazard bombardment.
sure, yeah. When you cast your second one and you're like, "Oh, this is great!" Like the first one kills three
Yeah.
things, but the second one's gonna kill four. This is so good. I had one like Flame of Keld, just like didn't think of that card and like all of the different things it did for a long, long time. And then
No,
like someone pointed out Radiating Lightning with it. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like Plague Wind Deal 5. Oh, that's
I
cool. I
I
like that.
got like weirdly Dominaria at the Grand Prix this weekend. My
Uh,
opponent was on some green deck, and I was on a green blue red deck, and all of my removal was red based. And they had this primordial worm. I was like, oh wow, 6 toughness is a mode that doesn't die to red.
yeah, like oh, this hasn't come up before,
Yeah.
but seems very relevant. Yeah. So, did you have like a color preference or one that you
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
mostly drafted?
Yeah, I would mostly end up in green, and that's because green has a lot of powerful cards in it, and also it's easy to splash from green. It's easy to play all of your good cards from green, like you have Grow from the Ashes, which just enables so much wacky and wild stuff.
Hmm.
And then you just have great uncommons. You have Tatiova, you have Slimefoot,
Hmm. Yeah,
uh,
those cards are ridiculous for sure.
Elfhame Druid to Llanowar
Hmm.
Elves. And Llanowar Elves isn't like all that great, but then even then you have aside from like the weird rampy stuff in green, you have the Saplings, which is also a very good vial strategy. And it felt maybe a little bit deeper than the other colors.
Okay. So, Llanowar Elves always been interesting. I feel like I've been up and down on that card a ton throughout the format.
Yeah, I
It,
think. No, go ahead.
yeah, like so sometimes like its highs are obviously very high, right? Like turn one Llanowar Elves, turn two Grow, right. You like you can get way out ahead.
Yeah,
Um, but obviously like you draw it in the late game. Maybe I just haven't drafted with one mana dorks very much in a limited format like that. Um, but from my experience, I felt like it was one of the highest upside commons in green.
I like it more when my opponent's not on red or black, where I can't get like Shivan
Fungal
fired or
infection.
definitely fungal
Yeah,
infection. I feel like that happened way too many times. I was like, oh,
yeah,
please don't have fungal on turn one for this Llanowar Elves, and they always
yeah.
had it.
Yeah, I would always lead with Swamp just to like instill fear in them. Just like, all right, if you play Llanowar Elves, I'm gonna get it. Um, but yeah, I think green was definitely interesting. It was the least two color deck by a large margin. Like
Was green your most drafted color as well?
I think it was probably blue. I
Blue?
played the most blue decks just because the power level of blue is really high.
Yeah, I think
Um,
blue's probably the next best color to green. Maybe black.
okay. Do you think green is better than blue, or did you just like find yourself in a lot of green decks? Is that
Uh,
if that makes sense?
I think green. Well, blue has some stronger commons. It has, your Cloud Rager Sphinxes, your Blink of an Eyes.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think green enables you to do some better stuff than blue does.
Hmm.
And
That could definitely be true.
that's why green has a slight edge for me. But I
Okay.
think it is very close.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bad green commons, which I think definitely pulls it down. Like if
Yeah.
anytime I'm drafting blue, I feel pretty confident that I'm going to get enough playables and my deck will be like pretty reasonable. Whereas I feel like you can have a bad draft with a green deck more often than with your blue decks. But
I'm not sure about that. There are a lot of there's a lot of bad blue comments too. Like you have your Artificer's Assistants. Rescue, which is never playable.
What? I've played so many
Oh
rescues.
no,
Oh
that's
no.
that
With
card's
haphazard
trash.
bombardment. That's how you turn it on.
Get out of here. That's going way too deep for for nothing.
Man, this is like I feel like rescue embodies what Dominaria is about. You haven't lived until you've
No.
rescued your Mirari conjecture. Whew. Yeah, that's great. It's so good. Did you so
I,
LSV? Did you see he played a Mirari conjecture deck that had like I think it had multiple rescues, and it was in the team Grand Prix. So I
all
mean, his
right.
deck was pretty stacked, but it was
Maybe
like
I'm
a Mirari conjecture deck.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Rescue's secretly great, but I've never played that card in my life.
I mean, it's not great, but
No.
never playable. A little harsh. I think he hurt its feelings.
I don't know. I think yeah, green does have some. I don't even think it has unplayable commons. Like Gaia's Protector's a 4/2. That's fine. Blue has
So
a 1/1
I'm
with flying.
I'm a sucker for Gaia's Protector. I've played so many jousting lances with Gaia's Protector. I like
Yeah,
that.
Gaia's
Yeah. I mean,
Protector's by no by no stretch of the imagination unplayable,
mhm.
but that's like the worst green, one of the worst green commons.
Yeah, I think most people say Gaia's Protector is just unplayable, which I mean, they have a point. You have to like do a lot of work to make it do something, maybe.
At the end of the
So
day, it's just a 4/2 though.
yeah, so in this format, that's really bad though.
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
but I think it's better. I think it's better than your rescues of the world or uh,
You're not going to
your
be as
artificer's
embarrassed when
assistance.
it's in your hand. Yeah,
No,
Artificer Assistant's really bad. But
yeah.
so sweet. And then, what was your favorite deck to draft?
All right. So I loved the black green X decks in this format. I loved with your slime foots. I loved the blue green X decks with Tatiova, but my favorite deck that I ever got to draft, I've drafted it a couple times. Where when it comes together, it's really sweet. It's the black red decks or black red X decks, where you have Garna and you have Whisper, and then you can draft whatever creatures you want because you just value town off with your Garnas and your Whispers, and it doesn't even matter if they have removal because Whisper makes your Garnas and your Whispers dodge them.
Uh-huh. That is sweet. I always felt like when I was in like red black, I'm trying to turn my Keldon. What is it, Keldon
Elden
Marauder?
Raider.
Or Keldon Raider. I'm like, all right, Keldon Raider, you're fighting against divination. You have to beat it. You're gonna discard all my extra lands, and we're gonna win the divination battle right here.
Oh
It's
no!
like
If you're black red, you gotta get Garna Whispers. Is just
that
you
is sweet.
draw
I actually have
85
never,
million cards.
I never had both of them in play at the same time, so I
Oh,
have
you
missed
were
an
not living the
opportunity.
life.
Yeah, that sounds.
You need to go draft some Dominaria and try to force it.
I had the Soul Salvage, Valid Omnivore, Get To Chronicler. That was like my felt like it was, and or just two Get To Chroniclers, and then
Okay.
like a removal spell.
That's
So
some good value right there.
I did that all the time, and that's like just a bunch of commons. I'm like, all right, I can like piece together this kind of like infinite value.
Yeah, red's one of the worst colors, in my opinion. But it does have some good value cards like your Gitu Chroniclers, the Raiders, fine. But what was your favorite color pair to draft or color pairs?
My favorite, I draft like, probably red green. I drafted so many red green decks. I think it's just because everyone else hated red green, and I just like explored every possible combination of red and green cards. Like I was very in on the Gaia Protectors deck. I definitely went through a phase of Gaia Protectors decks.
Slapping some lances on them.
Oh yeah, oh no, you just Warlord's Call, Warlord's
Warlord's
Fury. Oh yeah, that's the life.
Okay, I'm not too big on red green. It was fine.
I think it was actually really bad, but so like it was very open because no one really drafted. Like you could get Halars really late just because it's not a great deck. But I enjoyed myself because I always felt like I was trying to make a lot with a little, which is always fun.
I will say red was felt very open most drafts,
Hmm.
but that's just because of the volume of kind of bad red cards.
Yeah. It's weird how many Get To Chroniclers were splashed. Like at professional REL events. Like I would watch mini draft like draft coverage and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, yep, they're playing a blue black deck. They're splashing two Get To Chroniclers." Like,
Yeah,
like it kind of like you're splashing this double colored common, and it was like that's how good that card
yeah.
was.
The
But
card's just
red was
that
just
good,
so yeah,
and nobody was drafting them because nobody wanted to be in red.
yeah, yeah. Red suffered from the color tries to do two different things, and neither of which are particularly strong. That
No,
that happens a lot in limited sets, is where like if your color's not very focused, like half aggro, half value, it's like
and
really hard.
this is the color where it seems to end up happening the most.
Mhm.
Because red is typically the aggressive color,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of hard for them. I'm not a designer, obviously, but it feels like it would be hard for them to just go all in on that.
Yeah, it's kind of boring if like red is always aggro. So then they try to do a lot of like Get To Chronicler's not an aggro card, right? It's like a
Yeah,
spell value card, which still feels very red, but it like the good when red is good, it's when you're just killing them, right? Like that's it historically at least.
now that we've taken a crap all over red, it
Uh-huh.
is noteworthy to say that the red blue deck was very real and very scary. When you can get wizards
Yeah.
assembled,
That was my least favorite deck to draft, actually. But I think I was just super unlucky and never got Adelies very much. But
I liked
like,
drafting the deck. It just never felt it never felt very open because the all the good blue cards got snapped up pretty early.
exactly. Do you think that deck is like so? Everyone talks about how it's great, right? Is
Mhm.
it great if you don't have an Adelies, or you have to have an Adelies for your deck to be actually really, really good?
I think it's still great even if you don't have Adelies. Adelies pushes it over the top for sure. But if you have a few Journey Mages, you have these good tempo plays to keep your opponent from never being able to really affect anything that game. Journey Mage can set you back so far and
Yeah,
just be this huge tempo swing.
it was very good. I had a Pro Tour deck where I had four Journey Mages. That was a lot. I took three consecutively. Like I'm like I'm gonna keep taking these until they stop coming. But
I'd be down with that.
yeah, but I was not in red blue, so they weren't as good.
Okay.
But I Helm of the Hosted them quite often because I had four of them. So anytime I drew Helm of the Host, I definitely had an Academy Journey Mage to put them on.
One of my favorite things is that I put Helm of the Host on, and what a wacky and wild card that is. That is one of my favorite cards in the format. Well, favorite cards
It's
when I'm sitting in the seat with the Helm of the
correct.
Host.
Well, I don't
Least
mind
favorite
playing
card.
against it. Well, sometimes it's great. Like sometimes they're like, okay, like your opponent has the Helm of the Host, and you're sitting there with like your instant like Shivan Fire,
Yeah.
and they're like, all right, are you gonna spend 5 mana to equip? And then they're like, So it
When
was
you
definitely blow. You could blow it out pretty hard for sure.
when you didn't have those cards that could blow it out though, it's just
Oh, you
so
instantly
annoying.
lose. Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
dead. Yeah, you're instantly dead.
My favorite card on my side, my least favorite card on my opponent's side. But my favorite thing to put it on in this format when I did was Baird, Steward of Argive.
That's funny.
Just make my opponent pay. I think they had to pay like 7 to attack, and this was sealed, so it was like this was the pre-release actually.
That's
So
funny.
the game was
He
really
had to pay
grindy.
7.
Yeah, he had to pay 7 to just attack with one creature.
That's great. Yeah, mine. I put Helm of the Host on a Thorn Elemental at the Pro Tour. I won 4 games by making 3 Thorn Elementals and hitting them for 21. Like
That'll
it
do
was
it.
like a very slow deck, and then I would just draw my whole deck until I drew like Helm of the Host and Thorn Elemental, and then I would just kill them in one hit. And I just did it over and over again.
That'll do it. Thorn Elemental got a little better as the format went on for me.
That card is there's so many just weird cards. So Thorn Elemental has very weird lines of play. Like if you don't have 7 power in play, you're just dead, right? Like
Yeah,
it's just gonna hit you for 14.
yeah.
which is kind of a crazy concept that you don't fully grasp until you're sitting down and looking at the board where you have 6 power and they have a Thorn Elemental.
Yeah, a lot of the time I played out my Thorn Elements and I was like, wow, this is just going to kill them next turn
Uh-huh.
or the turn after.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I feel like that happens so much in this format where you sit down to play the game and you're like discovering things because of how everything interacts.
Yeah,
It was-
I will miss this format a lot. It was so good. I'm going to miss slamming my Tatiovas, for sure.
Yeah. That card was just like you could put that in any set though, and it would always be great.
Oh, yeah, but it's in this set. I'm going to miss slamming those Tatiovas.
But see, like what I remember, like Mirari Conjecture is like a Dominaria card in my mind, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like so strange. Whereas Tatiova is like obviously powerful, but it's like it's like a Oracle Moldiah kind of thing, right? Like just the all right, green value engine, yay, I win.
Have you ever drawn a card and gained a life when you played a land? Like,
I saw the streamer that I watch. I should. I think it's Lord Tupperware. Have you ever watched him?
no, but I've heard of him.
Yeah, so he drafted this ridiculous deck where he had Lich's Mastery with Tatiova, and he's like, "Have you ever gained a life, which then drew you a card, and then also drew?"
Oh my
That
god.
was the sweetest deck I've ever seen. It was like Sanctum Seekers and Lich's Mastery and the Primeval's Glorious Rebirth.
Primeval's,
No,
that
it was
unplayable.
the best Primeval's Glorious Rebirth deck you've ever seen.
Better than Sam's Black Pro Tour deck.
It was wonderful. It was like 4 Navigator's Compasses and like Winggrace Acolytes, Sanctum
Alright,
Seeker.
I'm done. Navigator's Compass, just like
4 of them.
Get out of here.
There was 4. That's like I love that. That's what you can do. Like that, he 3-0'd easily. Like it was actually broken, but so like filled with unplayables.
I hate that Navigator's Compass is a card because just like LSV is so against it, so am I. I saw so many people playing it at the pre-release, and I was like, once I saw like myself open this card, I'm like, so many people are gonna play this thinking it's a good card.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It's one of the best traps.
My first trap was Keeper of the Lens, or like in cons, because everyone wants to know what everyone else's morphs are. So they're like, oh, I can play this spell, and then I'll see all of the morphs. There will be no mystery.
Yeah, the Mist guy. I remember playing a couple of that guy and feeling bad about it after.
Sure. Was there any deck that you just didn't like that I don't know that you just avoided?
Not really. I typically didn't find myself in red or white as often as I found myself in the Sultai colors. I don't think that was because of my bias. I think that's just because the Sultai colors felt a little better.
Yeah, my friends drafted so many white decks, and I almost never did. I felt like all of my white decks sucked.
The white deck just felt mediocre. Like Trapper, I drafted a white-black deck at the Grand Prix this weekend on day 2, and it just didn't feel good.
That is the white deck, though, right? I feel like there's white-black decks and white-blue decks, and that's about it. Like white-red and white-green, you almost never see.
And then again, white-green is also kind of one of my favorite things in the format when you can get Song of Freyalise and you can go wide and do these wacky and wild things with Song of Freyalise.
But like, I don't think I've ever played against a white-green deck that actually did it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I could see it happening. But I've
done it before.
You've done it before.
Yeah.
The Sergeant at Arms.
Oh yeah, the Sergeant at Arms, your Sap Herds, your
How many charges have you played?
I played a lot of charges. I played more charges than your average person, probably.
Yeah, I think I've cast 0 charge in my whole Dominaria experience.
Oh no, I like charge a lot in white green when you're going wide.
I have cast a lot of Healing Grace.
That's a card that I've cast once, and only once.
Was it like a 2-for-1? I mean, it can't actually be a 2-for-1.
No, it was kind of just like I had maybe 22 playables. This draft went off the rails really badly, and I had like 22 playables. And I was like, I guess I'm siding in this Healing Grace because it
does something, right? Like it saves your guy. Like sometimes
it hit a Quende, so it was like, all right, it does 1 damage and I get to kill it.
Yep, smart. Yeah. Did you have like any card that you found yourself drafting a ton? I guess like uncommons. Were there any uncommons that you just like
Any
drafted more than anything else?
uncommons? Maybe Tetsuko. Tetsuko is just sweet. You
That
get her
I
out.
I never almost never cast Tetsuko, always died to Tetsuko.
Yeah, she's real
She's
good.
insane. Like it was surprising how good she was.
She's sweet with saprolings. She's good with just random relic runners, especially. And the relic runner deck's actually really fun to draft. Uh,
I died to that. That was my what I lost to the Pro Tour to a Relic Runner Tetsuko deck. I was like, I can't ever beat this deck. It's
oh yeah,
insane.
it's so real.
I had a Merfolk Trickster, and like, there's no way for me to make this Merfolk Trickster trade with that Relic Runner because it gets unblockable from itself and from this Tetsuko. And I was like, this is so annoying. But it was, yeah, it's very interesting. My most drafted common was definitely Yargle. I think I have fully bought into the frog.
I'm down with
But
some Yargling.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was great, but I Pegasus Coursered a bunch of Yargles.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
like,
I did that at the GP in my white black deck. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
uh the Pro Tour, I played a deck that had 3 Yargles. It was like, that was a little bit too much,
It's
but
a little much.
yeah.
Although I did play 2 Slinvodas this past weekend. Another card that I think is a little underrated.
Hmm.
If you can get there though, giant 8/8, it's pretty nice.
Sure. I've made Gilded Lotus decks work, and they normally involve some amount of Slinvoda or Fight with Fire, right? Like you have to
Yeah.
really want it, but yeah,
No, yeah, I got a last pick Slinvoda in like pack 3. I was like, sweet, I already have one. I could use another, and I had this
I
Giant
could
Emulating
use
Inferno.
another. Yeah, that's why I had Yargle because it's so many Yargles because I had a Giant Millennium Inferno.
Oh yeah.
That card is actually the crazy one, but
When you have the good legendary sorceries like your Emulating Infernos, your Vile Offerings, your Sundering, Ruinous Blast could be okay. Let's never talk about Kamal's Druidic Vow ever.
yeah, that was terrible.
But
Yeah,
when you have those, it's worth it to go in on your Slinvodas, on your
Mhm.
Yargles.
Slimvoda is a little hard. I mean, you already have 8 mana. You're probably winning
Yeah.
with your Slimvoda, right?
Uh, not all the time because
That's true.
the format has a lot of these sapling makers, these random token makers or sergeant at arms. So Slinvoda could just get chumped into oblivion while you die.
Mhm.
And so it turning on the legendary sorceries is really important.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think I've ever cast an unkicked Slimvoda though. I've always cast it for 10.
What was your most drafted common?
Common, I probably Get Two Chronicler. I bought into the slashing Get Two Chroniclers a bunch.
It's a good one.
I-
I underdrafted that just because I never ended up in red. But
Yeah,
I would have
I
loved
was
more.
often not in red, and then just still had 3 Get Two Chroniclers because like that, like mini drafts wound up like that. So, and it was very good in the red green decks that I kept trying to make just because it was a playable card in my unplayable deck. But
My
how about yours?
mine was might have been Caligo Skinwitch.
Yeah, the 2 drops were so good. They need that in more sets. Just like
Yeah.
super value 2 drops.
Normally I wouldn't be playing Mind Rots, but when it's on a 1/3, sure,
Hmm.
I'll do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's surprising how good it felt. But it's also a format where Mind Rot would have been just great.
Oh yeah.
Like there's not a Mind Rot in the set, right? Because I think it would be
No,
very good.
it's on Skinwitch is the
Yeah.
only Mind Rot.
Yeah.
And I got super got by Skinwitches a couple of times. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
this.
Yeah. There's a lot of cards in the set where you have to learn. Like you have to play and then get got by a Skin Witch, and then you're like, oh, okay, got it. I
Yeah.
won't play that land. When
Yeah,
they're going,
I'll hold a couple cards when they're at 6 mana.
yeah, like I think that's a sign of a good set. Like there's so many just good aspects of Dominaria because like a lot of sets you don't ever get punished and you don't ever learn anything from like playing more than 10 games.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, I was learning things like a month and a half, 2 months in, which is sweet.
There were a lot of
Uh,
a lot of nuances with the set, like
sure.
befuddle you'd run into every now and then. You'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
right, that's a card.
that was a 2-for-1 a lot. Like most of the times that it was cast, I felt like it was 2-for-1ing people, and then be like, oh, yeah, sure, that's a
Yeah.
thing. Or blink of an eye. That card does so many random things. I love that.
Oh, blink of an eye. I wish I could just draft that card more and more and more, but
Yeah.
always get snatched up. All the
Yep.
blue cards that you want to draft just get snatched up. Your Cloud Ranger Sphinxes,
Cloud Reader Sphinx is crazy. That card is so good.
and we're getting kind of another one in the next set. The one from Theros is back, except it's a 6-drop this time. Who
I don't know
cares?
that one, but
Some 4 or 5 6-drop that scries 2 when it enters.
that sounds good.
Yeah, just
Uh,
your Cloud Ranger Sphinx.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Just like +1. Oh, it's a 6-mana 4/4.
Oh, sure, same.
Yeah. I think it's an uncommon. That shows you how good Cloud Reader Sphinx was.
Exactly. You have so many of these cards that are kind of rarity shifted down.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm 100% sure, maybe 95% sure, a card like Wrath would have been printed at a rare in any other set.
Yeah.
A card like Slimefoot or Tatiova might have been printed at a rare in any other set.
Mhm.
But you have all these cards that are shifted down, like your Cloud Ranger Sphinxes, your Wraths,
Uh-huh.
where it kind of ups the complexity of the format, and it makes it a lot more interesting.
Because they're also not like just straight power level cards.
Yeah.
That's like what made it fun, right? Like Wrath, if it's just a 4-mana 3/3 flash, like that's good, right? But it's not oppressively powerful by itself. But it's like what it enables is so powerful.
It's
And
really
Tactio,
good,
yeah.
but it doesn't win the game. Like, it doesn't win the game by itself.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You have to like abuse what it's letting you do.
Yeah. You have to kind of shift your pick order around, and that's what made the set really cool. Like, normally you know exactly what you're taking whenever you're taking it. But this one you kind of had to think. You had to think a little bit more. Definitely way more than you had to think during Ixalan or Rivals of Ixalan.
Yep. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I wonder. So in most sets, I feel like your pick order changes very slowly, right? Like, so in theory, there's some perfect pick order where there's like the number one card all the way down, right?
Sure.
And then, like from set to set, that pick order probably adjusts either more or less, like from first pick to second pick to third, right? Depending on what you've already taken. Whereas I feel like this set it adjusts really quick, right? Like if you first pick a Wrath, it greatly changes what you should be second picking.
Yeah, like when you're first picking Adelies the Cinderwind, then you're like, oh, maybe I'll pick up this 1/2 for 1.
Sure, or like Tolarian Scholar. Yes, I want this very badly, right?
Yeah.
Or like Mirari Conjecture, Mindium Dominaria. There's all these cards that like single-handedly completely alter how you're supposed to be drafting. So it makes every draft really unique.
It's things like that make this draft format really fun. Kind of like in Innistrad, one of my favorite decks was the Burning Vengeance deck.
Okay.
And
I never played it, but I've heard good things about that one.
It's so good. Innistrad in general is great. But the Burning Vengeance deck has a special place in my heart. And you would just take these random whatever flashback cards, and that's how this feels like for some of these cards in Dominaria, like Adelies, Wrath.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Like, yeah, Wrath, even like Davenant Trapper, you're like, oh, Blood Tallow Candle is now like instant speed. Like, it's it's crazy. But this one's pretty obvious. But if it's 3 years from now, I have a box of Dominaria. We're like meet up at a GP. You're definitely down to draft, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, this isn't really a fair question for me. I'll draft any format, any time of the week.
Okay.
Just because I'm a draft addict. But Dominaria, 100% being there.
So how about this one? Draft or sealed? Like, is draft significantly better in Dominaria than sealed?
I just think in general draft is usually better than sealed. And
there's
so
some formats where it gets switched, which is rare, but I've played some sealed formats that are actually just better than the draft, I think.
Can you think of one off the top of your head?
Ours was pretty close, and
Oh,
then
you know what? You're right.
yeah, and then BFZ Oath I think was also close.
Amonkhet Sealed was
Yeah,
pretty fun.
it was just really good.
To be fair, I was one of the few who liked Amonkhet Draft. I liked killing people on turn 4.
Yeah, no, it was fun.
But Amonkhet Sealed was a lot of fun when you could do weird ramping things with your. I often played.
Like, everyone was green decks, right? Like it was like
Yeah.
everyone was Flash. Yeah, it was very like that sealed format. I think was actually just better, like the Amonkhet one. Which
You're
is,
right.
Yeah.
But for this one specifically, I would go with draft.
Yeah, no, this one it's so, like the draft is so fun, and like the drafting process is the best part. It's so great. But
I feel like we've gushed over like the
I
pick
know.
order and stuff so much now at this point that it feels pretty obvious that we both picked draft.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just, yeah, there's so many cards that just get so much more interesting in draft. Like, exponentially better. Not Tatiova. Tatiova, see, boring card. Great in seal, great in draft. See, just like too simple, too easy.
That card's always interesting, always fun, always on the...
You just like winning. See,
always up for bat. I just like drawing cards.
Okay. Fair. But, see, yeah, I think we both love the set. It was fun to talk about it, kind of get our thoughts out. Do you know when the like pre-release for Core 19 is? Is that in 2 weeks?
It's on July 7th, so we got a couple weeks.
Okay.
I'm excited for the new format. I'll admit I got a little bored during drafting on Magic Online. I wouldn't draft as much, but it's still a great format, obviously. But I am excited for a new shakeup.
It's always fun. That's like the joy of Magic, is just they like come out with sets all the time, just so that, like figuring out is the game.
That's the joy of Limited for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the format always gets 100% shaken up.
Yep. It's like an arms race, right? Like who can come up with the best tech the fastest and be the most right? Like it's great.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then where can people find you if they want to get in touch or see what you have to say about things?
So I am on Twitter. I tweet sporadically. I am at SultaiGuy on Twitter. And I stream sometimes on Twitch. That's also SultaiGuy, twitch.tv/SultaiGuy. So you can check me out there.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm at DJ Cathro on Twitter. I tweet less, even more sparingly than you, I think. But also the Facebook page is great. There's like a really good constructive criticism Facebook family. People are super active on there. You can go on and talk about whatever, ask anything, comment. It's really great resource to kind of learn and talk about Magic for sure. But yeah, I think that's everything that we had to go over this week, and we will see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye, guys.